Quick. Good evening. We'll call this meeting of the Johnson City Board of Commissioners for Thursday, February 15th to order. The invocation tonight will be given by Pastor Jim Nipper from Our Savior Lutheran Church. If you'd rise for that and then stay on your feet for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. Considering what we've experienced over the last 36 hours, before I pray, I would like to give us a chance just to take a moment of silence for our brothers and sisters in Parkland, Florida. If we could do that, let's take a moment of silence. Thank you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, how good it is when brothers and sisters dwell together in unity and celebrate the gifts of life that you have given us. Certainly we do remember the many lives that have been lost in these terrible situations. And yet we gather here and hopefully learn from these horrendous things about how to make ourselves more secure and not take the joy away from the communities in which we live, for this is a joyous place, Johnson City. We thank you for our mayor and vice mayor and commission. We thank you for all the institutions that work so hard to make this a joyful place. May your Holy Spirit be upon us and all their deliberations. May it be acceptable in your sight and be what's best for the community as a whole. For all these things and whatever else you see that we need, grant to us. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Peterson?
Your first order of business would be to consider an addition to tonight's agenda, which would be a resolution for support of Parkland, Florida.
Have a motion to add this to the agenda?
So moved.
Second? Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Broecklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration of the minutes from your meeting held on Thursday, February the 1st.
Any discussion, corrections, additions to the minutes?
Move for approval?
Have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Broecklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes.
At this time, Mayor, if you would like to read and approve the resolution for support of Parkland, Florida.
As Pastor Nipper mentioned, we had another tragedy down in Florida. So we'd just like to send our condolences down there in an official manner and just take a minute and just realize it's but for the grace of God go we, that we don't see that here. So pray for our community and for all the communities. Whereas on Wednesday, February 15th, 2018, a teenage gunman opened fire on teachers, staff, and students at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. And whereas at least 17 people were killed and at least 14 others are hospitalized. And whereas victims ranged from teachers, coaches, staff, and students. And whereas the community of Parkland, Florida is shocked and heartbroken. Now therefore, let it be resolved that members of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, do hereby express our deepest condolences and extend our prayers to the victims, their families, and the community of Parkland, Florida. And be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the official minutes of this meeting, approved and signed in open meeting on the 15th day of February 2018. And let's hope we never have to fill out another one like that again. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Broecklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration of a temporary occasion license for Overmountain Chapter of Trout Unlimited to sell beer on Saturday, April the 7th during the Thirsty Orange Brew Extravaganza event at the Pavilion at Founders Park. This has been thoroughly researched and the recommendation is for approval.
Is the applicant here tonight? Good evening.
Good evening.
If you'd like to give your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Jeff Wright. My address is 302 Daytona Place, Elizabethton, Tennessee, 37643.
Aaron Carson, 16 Mildred Avenue, Asheville, North Carolina, 28806.
And have you gentlemen read the rules and regulations regarding the sale of beer in the city of Johnson City?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree to abide by those rules?
Yes, sir.
And do you have any questions for us?
No, sir.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second?
Second.
A motion, a second, and a second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes. Very good. If you'd like to take a minute and tell us about your event, you have some free advertising.
Well, first, just thank you to the commission for continuing to support this event. The Overmountain chapter of Trout Unlimited is excited to continue our partnership with Superfly Fabulous and bring the Thirsty Orange back as it has been. It's a beer festival that celebrates especially our local makers and distributors, and then is a fundraiser also for our chapter that then helps promote cold water conservation in Northeast Tennessee. So win for the area in a lot of different ways.
Very good. Good luck. And if somebody wanted to purchase a ticket to this event, what would they do?
ThirstyOrange.com.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Peterson?
Next order of business is to make up to 11 appointments to the Johnson City Sesquicentennial Commission.
All right. We have our nominations from our commissioners who wish to make a nomination. So present the slate of Larry Reeves, Abraham McIntyre, Joy Fulkerson, Vicki Schell, Larry Calhoun, Jenna Moore, Rebecca Henderson, Marcy Walker, and Donna Noland. Any further discussion?
Do you need a motion?
Would like a motion if you're so inclined.
I would be so inclined.
Very good. Have a motion. How about a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin? Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes.
Well, we, just one comment or question. We still have two other slots then that we'll want to put in there. Is there a process we'll use?
We don't have to. It was up to. I think the thought was there will be numerous subcommittees and working groups that if you would like to get involved, it's a big deal. 150 years, you know, and everybody gets to practice spelling it and saying it for a few months. It's a little challenging sometimes, but so we'll give them a charge, and if anybody's interested in serving, just let us know. We'll figure out where to fit you in. Should be fun.
Your next order of business is to make an appointment to the Northeast Tennessee Regional Solid Waste Planning Board. This board is a mandatory board required by the state of Tennessee. Jim Colbert, our environmental auditor, has fulfilled this role for at least the past 6 years and has represented us well. The part of the function of this group is to ensure that there's an ongoing dialogue about recycling, reusing, and to ensure that there is a safely operated disposal operation in the area. It's a very important board, and Jim has served us well in that role.
Very good. And I assume we had no other applicants.
None that I'm aware of, no, sir.
Jim has served us well. By all means, let's reappoint him. It's
Is that a motion? We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes.
The next order of business is consideration of the consent agenda.
All right. My left to right, anybody want to pull anything for individual discussion? Commissioner Fowler?
No.
Vice Mayor Brock?
No.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Believe it or not, no.
And Commissioner Wise?
I'm clear, thank you.
Very good. Anybody would like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So,
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes.
The next order of business will be ordinances for consideration on second reading, the first being ordinance number 4654-18. An ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, being part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, entitled "An Ordinance to Adopt a Code of Laws and Ordinances for the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to repeal all laws and ordinances in conflict therewith and amendatory thereof, by changing from I-1 Light Industrial District to R01 High Density Residential / Professional Office District, a portion of certain property located at 2721 East Oakland Avenue is ready for your consideration on second reading and public hearing.
Very good. Hassan?
Thank you very much. This is a piece of property on East Oakland Avenue. It's currently zoned I-1, and the developer is proposing that we rezone it to R01, basically extending the same zone of the property we have across the street. He proposes to develop this property for a professional medical office that will adjoin East Oakland Avenue, and then in the rear, there will be multifamily apartments. Staff has reviewed this particular request, considered a couple of factors that are provided in the long-range plan for the city in determining whether the city should rezone property or not. With respect to transportation, East Oakland Avenue is a collector street. It has sufficient capacity to take care of any increased traffic that this particular development may create on this road. The area itself has got significant residential, multifamily residential development, such as on the Williamsburg, on Oakland. There are a couple of other medical and professional offices in the same area. So this particular proposed project will generally fit into the character of the area. Planning Commission recommends approval. Staff has not received any contest to this particular request from the neighborhood.
Very good. We need a public hearing, so we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anybody like to speak against or for
Or against.
ordinance 4654-18?
Greg Cox, 6 Llewellyn Wood, Johnson City. I'm representing the developer, and we've worked pretty hard trying to put this together. I feel it's a great use of a rezoning. The big important thing to note is on the rear of the property, there's a big gas easement. So there's a natural break between the current industrial zone and this particular zone. I have the developer and the architect and the contractor with me also, if you have any questions.
Any questions? I think we're good. Anybody else wish to speak for or against ordinance 4654-18? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion or a motion?
Move approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin? Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes.
This looks like a really nice development, and I know that area very well. I think it's going to help with redevelopment all up and down Oakland Avenue.
It's that little house, right? There was a
Yeah.
little house there. Yeah. That'll be a vast improvement of what was there. Yeah. Good luck. Yes.
Your next order of business is consideration of a resolution to annex certain property known as the Isaacs annexation. A resolution to annex certain property located within the 11th Civil District of Washington County, Tennessee, adjoining the present corporate boundaries of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to incorporate the same within the corporate boundaries of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, said property being known as the Isaacs annexation, to zone said property R2A, low-density residential, as described herein, and to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee accordingly, being a part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, ready for your consideration on second reading after public hearing.
Very good. Hassan?
This is the Isaac's annexation. The purpose of this annexation is simply to bring into the city limits about 874 square feet of land that is necessary to control stormwater for the proposed Park Place Phase 3 subdivision. This was approved on first reading. Planning Commission recommends approval.
All right, we'll open the public hearing on this resolution, the Isaac's annexation. Anybody here to speak for or against? It's an awful lot of property. I think somebody would. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
How about a second? I have a motion and a second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin? Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes.
Next ordinance is ordinance 4655-18, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, being part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, entitled an ordinance to adopt a code of laws and ordinances for the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to repeal all laws and ordinances in conflict therewith, and amendatory thereof by assigning a R2A low-density residential to certain property within the 11th Civil District of Washington County, Tennessee, known as the Isaac's annexation, is ready for your consideration on second reading and public hearing.
Very good. Son?
The city annexes by resolution and then assign a zone to the property by ordinance. There's the same 874 square feet area. The adjoining zone is R2, low density residential. This will just be in conformity with the area. Staff recommends approval. Planning Commission recommends approval.
We have to have a
We
public
have to have a
hearing.
public hearing, sorry. I'll open the public hearing. Anybody here to speak?
But I like that we make a song go through that same spiel
I know.
all 3 times. He'll be back in
He'll
two.
be
If you
back
like
in
that,
just a
folks, you can
second.
come back in
Yeah.
2 weeks. He's going to have to say all those words again.
We'd like you to change your report a little next time.
Exactly.
Anybody here to speak for or against Resolution 4655-18? Seeing none, close the public hearing.
I recommend approval.
Second.
A motion to second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin? Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes.
Can I just make a motion in favor of our plan of service for that parcel?
We need a public hearing.
No, you don't. Oh, you do on the plan of service?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Yeah, it says that. Never mind.
Consideration of a plan of services for the Isaac's annexation. The plan of services is contained in your packet. All city services are currently available to the property, requiring no additional extension of services. We would recommend your approval.
So how many students will an 800-square-foot detention pond send to our schools?
It will provide a wonderful education facility for
Okay.
your students to learn about environmental education.
All right, we'll open the popular public hearing on ordinance 4655-18. Going once, going twice.
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes.
Next order of business is a resolution associated with the Royston annexation. A resolution to annex certain property located within the 11th Civil District of Washington County, Tennessee, adjoining the present corporate boundaries of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to incorporate the same within the corporate boundaries of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, said property being known as the Royston annexation, to zone said property RP2, Planned Residential District, as described herein, and to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee accordingly, being a part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, is ready for your consideration on second reading after public hearing.
Ms. Hunt?
This is an owner-initiated annexation to annex this single-family house. The property adjoins the current city limits of the city of Johnson City, and therefore its annexation will be in order with the law, with regulations associated with annexation in the state of Tennessee. Nothing has changed since the City Commission considered this on first reading, and Planning Commission maintains its recommendation. Staff is recommending approval.
Very good. We'll open up public hearing on Resolution 4656-18. Anybody here to speak for or against? If you'd state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Jason Royston, and I live at 1388 Core Lane, the said property. I just want to say that I'm pleased to live in Johnson City and want to say thank you for allowing us to be annexed to the city, and I appreciate your time, and look forward to raising my family here. And I'm a new. I was raised in Johnson City, and so I moved back. So I love being part of the city.
Welcome back.
Glad to have you back.
All right. I'm a local pastor at Boones Creek Baptist Church, and I just want to say if I could ever do anything for the council here, I'd be more than happy to. Okay? All right. All right.
And there you go.
Okay.
You don't have to ask twice.
You'll be back.
You'll be back, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, close the public hearing.
Move approval.
Have a motion, second. Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin.
Yes.
Commissioner Wise.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Mayor Tumita.
Yes.
Next order of business is an ordinance to assign zoning to the Royston annexation. An ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, being part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, entitled an ordinance to adopt a code of laws and ordinances for the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to repeal all laws and ordinances in conflict therewith, and amendatory thereof by assigning a RP2 planned residential to certain property within the 11th Civil District of Washington County, Tennessee, known as the Royston annexation, is ready for your consideration on second reading after public hearing.
Son?
This piece of property adjoins the RP2 zoning district in the city of Johnson City. So they are assigning the RP2 zone to this piece of property will simply be an extension of the adjoining zoning district. The lot will meet all the requirements for an RP2 zone in our zoning code. Staff is recommending approval.
Very good. Open the public hearing. Anybody here to speak for or against 4656?
I had a question for a song. It references R3. That's county R3, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the other one, we didn't reference the existing zone in the assignment. I just wanted to be sure I was clear what we were doing. Thank you. I was, but this is in an unincorporated area. Stop it.
Very good. Do I close the public hearing?
I don't think we started it.
Okay, open the public hearing. Anybody here to speak for or against? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Have a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin.
Yes.
Commissioner Wise.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Mayor Tumita.
Yes.
Now for your consideration is the plan of services for the Royston annexation. All city services are available to the property, and it will not require any extension of service. We would recommend your approval of the plan of services.
Very good. We'll open the public hearing for the plan of services for the Royston annexation. Anybody here to speak for or against? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve plan of services for Royston Annex.
How about a second?
Second.
Motion and a second and a second. Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin.
Yes.
Commissioner Wise.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Mayor Tumita.
Yes.
This time, I'd like to ask Mr. Penzola to come forward and present the item dealing with artwork recommendation by the Public Art Committee.
The Public Art Committee was formed about 6 years ago. One of its stated goals was the idea of introducing public art into neighborhoods throughout the community. We received interest from the South Side neighborhood to place public art in Veterans Park in front of South Side School. Since that's a park property, they also received approval from the Park and Rec Board, South Side School, the South Side Community, and et cetera. They've then gone out and raised the money necessary to pay for the public art. Last night, the Public Art Committee endorsed their recommendation. You have 5 pieces of artwork in your packet. Virginia Buddha, who represents Artlandia, which is the organization that went through the process of solicitation of proposals and vetting those proposals to present, is here to outline, just briefly go over each of the 5 and then show you which one they are recommending. So let me get it up here. Okay. This is Virginia Buda.
Hi there. I have a short statement. I promise I'll try to be very brief about it. This has been a 4-year process, so I feel like it's necessary to build in the short period of time. My name's Virginia Salazar Buda. I live at 418 West Pine Street in the Tree Streets neighborhood in Johnson City, Tennessee. I am the founder of Artlandia, Inc., a 501c3 nonprofit organization established in Johnson City. Our mission since 2010 is creating art, cultural, and community-driven events, projects, and programs that provides accessibility and inclusivity for everyone. Since 2010, we have accomplished various endeavors, primarily produced all in downtown Johnson City, through annual events like the 7 art and craft shows called Artlandia and Arts and Crafts Peep Show, where at least 100 local and regional artists have financially benefited, and where our largest recorded attendance was at 400 people. 3 annual food fundraising events called Yum Yum, The Power of the Bite, the Bike Art Program, a multiple-phased program that developed in earnest 4 years ago, which is connected to tonight's artist applications that you are reviewing, and programming that will be happening in May of 2018 with various collaborations and partnerships through Tipton Gallery in downtown Johnson City. Thanks, Carlotta, for your support. As mentioned, the bicycle-inspired public work of art applications that you are reviewing tonight are in connection with the Bike Art Program. This public work of art is only one project in this program. The first phase is the bike art silhouettes that you see rotating in downtown and throughout Johnson City. They're produced from wood that are 5 feet in width by 3.5 feet in height, and they were created by 11 artists and volunteers. Thanks to the creators of this project and to the 5 Lowe's stores in Johnson City, Jonesboro, Elizabethton, and 2 Kingsport stores who donated supplies. These silhouettes have rotated throughout 19 Johnson City businesses. We created a loop beginning in downtown and trailed throughout the city from Dick Nelson's Gallery in downtown, the Willow Tree Southside Elementary School, Atlantic Ale, downtown farming, the Johnson City Public Library, to One Stop Wines, the Fresh Market, Lifestyles Gym, and on until we reach to the other side of town, Wallace Import Subaru. Everyone's name will be listed during our dedication event in May. The bulk of the silhouettes will be transported to Hands On Museum this week for display and on sale, just so you can kind of see how this process looks like. This project also became a fundraiser for 6 of the 12 K-12 City of Johnson City art programs. We didn't raise a lot of money, but we made the kids excited about producing something that was bicycle inspired. We also got the teachers really excited about it as well, because we were pulling their programs and we were presenting them in a very different way at Dick's Gallery, which we really appreciate that. There is another phase in development if funding and partnership develops. I'll be knocking on some doors in the next couple of weeks, and I'm hopeful that groups that advocate for the development of our downtown and our city will feel encouraged by these endeavors and maybe consider collaborating with Artlandia, Inc. for 2 events that will be produced in May of 2018. We love our city, and we certainly love our downtown. One of those events in downtown is in collaboration with some other businesses and organizations that share the same Artlandia, Inc. grassroots values, and the other one at Southside Elementary School during the dedication event when this public work of art structure is installed in May of 2018. May is our nationally recognized Bike Month. We have to have an event. We're going to make it happen. My end goal with these 2 events in May is to make a difference while encouraging and inspiring other grassroots initiators like me who are working tirelessly to make a positive difference here. We don't give up easily. Please continue supporting us. We need your help. And in case you are wondering, where's her business located? I do not have a brick and mortar business front in downtown or in the city. However, unlike many other people who care about what happens in our city, so we create and we produce wherever a workspace appears. Our home, our cars, our libraries, our local coffee shops. Our process of creating never stops primarily because we never stop caring. All of these activities have been supported by some pretty amazing people, friends, family, acquaintances, and business leaders that got it. I appreciate you and all of them, everyone that's been involved. And of course, I want to point out one of my personal art and cultural business heroes, Dick Nelson, because he has consistently contributed to my endeavors and to the hundreds of people in our region. We owe him a debt of gratitude for keeping his mind, his heart, and his business practices open for all kinds of opportunities, which is why this public work of art that you are reviewing tonight will be dedicated to him. He's earned it. Dick, thanks for getting it, and thanks for everyone who's been a part of these programs. Now, down to business. As Phil mentioned, we raised a whole bunch of money. We did it through Yum Yum, the Power of the Bite. Some of you actually were at these events. I see some of you, and I've seen some of you at some of the Artlandia Art and Craft shows as well. We raised $14,000. $4,000 of that is coming from a Tennessee Arts Commission APS grant. We were really happy to be able to get that. It's a highly competitive grant. And so we were able to get our artist honorarium up to $14,000. We would love to be able to have more, but we don't. We've run out of time. And now is the time to pick an artist. So you have received 5 artist applications out of a total of 15, 17 artists affected. These are artists that are coming from all over the United States. And that is in part because of the Public Arts Committee's program and their commitment to people like me to help us get the word out so that folks can apply. This project will be the first 3-dimensional work of art produced in a Johnson City neighborhood. And if the final project selected is a kinetic work of art, there are 2 kinetic works of art represented, then it will be the first of its kind in Johnson City, and very well might be the first in the Tri-Cities. That's pretty cool. If you Google kinetic works, you're going to see some pretty amazing works out there that are going to be very different than what you see here. Please check that out. There's some very interesting things, but they range in the $30,000 to $40,000, the $50,000, the $100,000 range. Kinetic public works of arts are projects that have parts that have air-driven movement. We also had an application for a solar project. That application is not part of the top 5. However, if I know Phil Penzola, this progressive, get-it-done, igloo building kind of person, I know he will find a way to usher these kinds of public works of art in our city that will make our city stand out, because I frankly haven't seen any of that in our region. Kinetic nor solar. We're leading in the Green Initiative. That's a good way to go. My goal this evening is to get your feedback and approval for all of the 5 artists, if possible, or at least our top 3. I value your opinion as I do the 7 bike jury members, Dick Nelson, Becky Mallory, Doug Buda, Cher Cornett, Hal Hunter, Travis Grays, and Jeremy Ross. Your feedback makes a difference, as does the following groups that have engaged and encouraged to provide feedback: Southside Elementary School, Southside Neighborhood Organization, Parks and Recreation Department, Public Works Department, the Public Arts Committee, and now it's up to you. So I'll now read each of the applicants' names. The jury has used a rubric system to evaluate our applications in combination with picking the artist and the work for this specific location and neighborhood. The reading of the applications is as follows. The final applicant mentioned in this PowerPoint presentation is the jury's top pick: Nikki Pinn and Barry Keller. Second, Bob Doster. Third, Patricia Vader. But I know we're going to be going back, Charlie Brower first. And so one last thing. Why bike art? Biking promotes an active, healthy lifestyle, and all of us have a shared and common story through biking, regardless of cultural, racial, gender, economic, and generational backgrounds. We all have a story. It connects us. Shared experience. The Tree Streets is one of the largest biking communities in Johnson City, where riding is done throughout the entire year. People that actually need to ride a bike to go to work, and those who do it for pleasure, those who do it for exercise. So that's why that particular project is a bike inspired. So let's go with the applications. All right, Charlie Brower. This is what our applications look like. They're packed full of information. They have portfolio pieces that they've produced. They have descriptions, maintenance plans. I mean, these are applications that if you have questions about them, I've got the paperwork. Charlie Brower is from Willis, Virginia, and I'm going to read his statement, and then I'll go through all of the different artist applications, and if you have any questions about any of the particular ones, feel free to ask me questions. Charlie Brower, Willis, Virginia. It is a 11-foot tall locust wood screws with preservative stain installed on a 6-foot diameter concrete base. These words will be sandblasted etched into the concrete around the edge of the base. This neighborhood, these trees, these streets, these houses, these people coming and going, coming and going. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Happiness is not another place, but this place, not for another hour, but this hour. The sculpture will consist of a tower of symbolic objects, houses, leaves, wheel-like, and linear forms. These words will be etched into the concrete, as I mentioned earlier. You have that information. So that's Charlie's application. Next one. This one's a really interesting one, and I hope at some point somebody might see this and say, I'd love to put this in another part of Johnson City, or maybe somebody else in the region might say, this is a pretty cool structure. This is Quincy Owens and Luke Crawley. They're from Indianapolis, Indiana. Spoked is the title of the word, and it will be approximately 6 feet to 18 feet tall by 2 to 3 feet wide and 2 to 3 feet deep. It will be fabricated primarily out of 3/16-inch thick aluminum plate, but will also include translucent acrylic panels at the top behind laser-cut 1/8-inch thick aluminum panels. The sculpture will be internally lit with changing RGB LEDs. The LEDs, along with the translucent light filters, produce dramatic and dynamic lighting effects similar to our prime commonality structures. Videos of these effects can be viewed on our website. They also have a QR code that they're planning on including in that, where you would take your phone, you'd scan the QR code, and you'd hear this sound coming out of the structure. So that's something that we haven't seen in Johnson City either. Our next person is Patricia Vader. She is a well-known kinetic art sculptor. This is already a piece that has been produced, and she is from Martinez, California, and she proposed 2 works, and we're looking at this one, once again, currently in California, and she's ready to ship it, called Play. Play is a metal wind-activated kinetic sculpture that features a fish perched on a bicycle fork that allows it to both gyrate in weather vane mode and move up and down as if jumping the waves. The waves are suggested by the hoops and windmills below the fish. It is an imaginative and dynamic piece made with lots of familiar bicycle parts, wheels, pedals, chain rings that appeal to everyone and will elicit a smile from most. The sculpture has a base of 4 weldable steel tabs with bolt holes. The size is 18 feet high by 6 feet by 6 feet. Bob Doster. Bob Doster is from Lancaster, South Carolina. He is our number 2 pick, and his work is sized at 10 feet in diameter by 1 foot in width and 1 foot in depth. And what he does is he goes into Southside Elementary School and he works with the school teacher, who's Deborah Hoyleman, and the elementary school principal. They've already approved this idea. And so what he would do is he would come in, he would work with them, he would have at least 80 kids that would be producing shapes. And they don't have to necessarily be people shapes. They're shapes of things that you would find while you're biking, things that are inspired by biking. So it could be a word, bike, or it could be a bicycle shape. But his work is something that is unique in the sense that he's working with children, and to see something in this large of a scale. You see small children, you see some structures that are produced by children, and then they're up and they're down. This is work that's up permanently. And his first piece that he produced was 40 years ago. I went down to Lancaster, South Carolina to actually see what his first generation piece looked like. It looked like it was in still pretty good shape. And of course, his work has changed where he's making sure that that structure is solid, and he's making sure that there isn't any opportunity for anyone to get injured. This piece would not be bolted to the floor. It would be placed on a concrete slab of some kind designed that would reach at least 4 feet in height. We don't want to have kids jumping through the hoops and that kind of stuff and hanging off. So that's his work. And it looks very interesting. Like I said, when you see it, it's a very interesting piece. And then this is our top pick, Nikki Penn and Barry Keller. They are from Radford, Virginia, And this sculpture will be constructed of recycled metal, bike parts, and glass. Its final coating will be white to reflect the colors thrown from the glass. It will rise up. They've actually changed the height from 12 to now 16 to 18 feet, and it will spread across 8 to 10 feet. And the trees will meet, and there is a mosaic path that will be constructed between the trees. The mosaic path will be wider at street entrance and then tapered toward the park. Now, the other adjustment that you will see that's on the right, that was their original sketch on the left, and on the right is what they've revised. And as you can see, that is now a circular 8-foot diameter concrete pad that's 1.5 feet in height, and that is something where someone can sit. That's a normal seated, that's a normal height for a seat. So children, adults can be engaged by walking through these trees. They can see those wheels moving. They've created those limbs, or they will create those limbs so that they will be at least 8 feet, so no one can grab onto the limbs. And then you have these beautiful glass pieces that will be rotating at the top with these wheels that are, once again, kinetic. It's kinetic work, it's movement. And those trunks are going to be painted in white. So it's going to have this contemporary, it's going to have some of that mosaic, historic feel, and of course for the tree streets. So we felt like with all of the different people involved, that this was probably the right piece. So that's our number one pick. But we're okay with the other ones too.
You're being asked to consider all 5, but this is the recommendation, this piece, so we would want blessings on this piece.
Far be it for me to second-guess the recommendation of the experts, so I think that's great.
Yeah, in fact, I was, as you were talking, afraid you were going to make us pick, and I just thought, I really don't feel
I want to
about this.
I want to hear your opinions. I do. I want to hear exactly which ones you like the best. Which is the one that you gravitate towards?
Commissioner Wise's comments considered, it's rare that I would concur with where the art committees are with my selection, but I totally concur that this is the piece.
All right, very good.
I'll make an official motion then to accept the recommendations of the art committee for approval of these 5 pieces.
I'll make a second if I don't have to make a choice.
So how's that for a non-committal? Yeah. Any further discussion?
Hey, I'm not being non-committal.
I know.
There it is.
There it is. We like it.
I'm being supportive of their committee that's tasked with this.
That's all for all the work that you've done, my goodness.
Great job.
Appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
We need to vote.
How about a roll call, Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Appreciate all the work that's been put to this
Thank
very
you.
much. Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes. Thank you again.
Thank
I have
you.
one quick question, Mr. Pinzello. We approved a few months ago about some artwork on the street at one of the roundabouts in the tree streets. Is that project still moving forward?
It's Earth Day.
I haven't been directly involved with it, but I think they're looking at doing some, I think they've got it scheduled. I know they've got the paint, they've got the material.
After it
They
warms
do
up?
have a
Yeah, they're
schedule,
looking
wait
for it
for
to
it.
warm up.
Okay.
It's winter.
That's
Very
all.
good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you, Virginia.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Your next order of business is consider approval of the commitment and statement of purpose for the Northeast Tennessee Regional Economic Partnership. Mr. Miller is here. What this does is it clearly defines the fact that NetRep and the Washington County Economic Development Council are 2 separate entities, and that NetRep's mission is to promote the Northeast Tennessee area, specifically the Johnson City MSA, while the Washington County Economic Development Council will focus solely on promoting Washington County, and the EDC will serve for the Economic Development Organization as required by Public Chapter 1101, and will fulfill all of the obligations associated with 1101. In an earlier version of this, there was inclusion of a funding amount But after talking about it internally and discussing with Mitch, we felt like making this distinction about the fact that there are two organizations and what each organization's roles and expectations were in service delivery would be covered in this agreement. And then on an annual basis, NetRep would come in and make a funding request for the upcoming year. And as a part of that, there would be an agreement made that would outline the work plan, the expectations for the upcoming year for which the funding is being requested, and that would be approved on an annual basis as part of the budget process. This is very similar to what we do with the library and 911. Both of those have funding appropriations, have agreements that go with them that memorialize the understanding between the two parties. And Mitch would be glad to answer any questions you may have.
I just want to make a comment. When this was before us at the last meeting, it was really quite unclear what it was that we were being asked to vote on. This has been clarified. The things that I hoped we would see in there, particularly spelling out who has responsibilities under 1101, those things are now indicated and indicated clearly. So I'm very supportive of the changes, supportive of the purpose of our new economic development entity.
Is that a motion?
I will move approval.
Have a motion. Motion and second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes.
Next item on your agenda is an update on the Boones Creek Athletic Complex project.
Well, we received an update from Commissioner Fowler in our agenda review. I believe the press was there, so I think we have our,
Like me to say something?
if you would like to, I would love for you to.
We are working with the county on a partnership to develop some athletic fields, hoping for the opportunity to get together and have the athletic fields at the Boones Creek Complex by their new school to be equally partnershiped with the county, so we can work with them, and we're going to get back together as a task force and go over some of the individual things. But it sounds like after our meeting today that we're pushing ahead to try and do this, and hopefully we can come to an agreement with the county about what we would be responsible for and what they would be responsible for, so we could have some joint athletic fields we could use for our citizens and they could use for their school, and be a win-win for both.
Is it worth speaking just to the next steps at this point? I think that would be helpful, either Commissioner Fowler or Mr. Peterson, just to outline what we're going to do next.
Okay. What was discussed earlier today is by the middle of next week, staff will look at the plan and develop a full list of issues and questions that need to be answered to ensure that both parties have identified all of the issues associated with the project, and we can begin working through that list of questions to determine who's going to be responsible for what, who's going to be in charge of scheduling, and who's got priority on scheduling, those types of questions and issues that need to be worked through. And we will also be trying to get some pricing on what it will cost to get this project through a schematic design phase with a probable cost attached to it. That way, both parties have very realistic numbers as to what the total project is going to cost and what each party's responsibilities are going to cost. I think that's the prudent way to proceed forward. It's kind of hard to make decisions on best guesses on a project of this magnitude. And from that point, we would go forward to the county with this identified list of topics to be discussed, as well as the price to get us to hard numbers, and ask the county if they would share in the cost of developing that probable cost and schematic design plans.
Couple of things. Along the lines of what you just mentioned, I think it shouldn't be a matter of them being willing to share the costs in the development of the site. You know, I think, quite honestly, they should be the ones who are responsible for that. If the commission decides that they want to be involved in helping fund that, that's great. I don't personally believe we should. It's their complex primarily, and I would think that they should be the ones developing those schematics, and they should be incurring the cost to do so. That's number one. Number two, have we looked at, I'm generally supportive of the concept if we can get what we need out of this complex. And for me, I've stated it more than once, what I think we need is we need recreational fields. I'm not really all that concerned about how well it works for tournament play. If that happens to work for that, that's a great extra, but primarily what we're looking for is for use for our citizens if we're going to make this investment. Have we considered, with this new schematic, which unfortunately I wasn't able to be at the meeting, so I'm a little bit lacking in my understanding of exactly how the project has changed from what our consultants looked at before and said wasn't workable, and now what Mr. Street has proposed and says is workable. Have we considered having the consultants that we paid to look at this, take a look at this and make sure that in fact the changes that have been suggested really do give us a complex that's going to meet what our needs are? And if we haven't, I would recommend that we do that.
That was the recommendation.
Okay.
So you were thinking like we are.
And Mr. Peterson's comments about next steps they made me tired listening to them. It sounded like it could take months and months, but you're actually talking about bringing all of that information to a point of deliverable to the county sometime middle to latter part of next week, so that
Probably the latter part of the week. It'll probably take us to the middle of the week internally to get that information.
Okay, and so, that helps us to keep the conversation on track and moving forward. I think the spirit is we'd like to find a way to collaborate if all the needs that are in play can be met in an efficient cost manner. We just don't want to make sure we know what we're getting into before we get into it.
And when we get that information together and Pete gets back with me, I will get in touch and we'll have the task force get back together and discuss that. So we'll have more information from both sides next time.
Commissioner Fowler, based on conversation you and I had, it's my understanding that they would actually do the site preparation, they would take care of all the retaining walls and all the drainage and all that. We would be responsible for laying down the surfaces and for the lighting.
That's it.
And I think that's, if in fact the way things lay out works well for our needs, I think that's a great expenditure of money. It certainly will save us a lot of money over what we've looked at doing individually. So I commend you on continuing the process and looking at it more critically and bringing this to us.
Thank you.
I would hope that as we develop what our true fiscal responsibility is going to be as far as construction, that we're also looking at a sharing arrangement as far as the cost of maintenance and upkeep of the facility. I know initially the county was looking at us taking that on entirely, but I think if this is truly a shared facility, that there should be some willingness to participate in that as well. So those would be my only comments with that, and I'm sure you guys hashed through all that at the meeting, which unfortunately I missed, but I did want to make sure that my understanding of how this was projected to move forward was correct, and also at least indicate those 2 or 3 things.
And I'd like to request as well that, Mr. Peterson, when y'all finish the work that you're going to be doing next week, that information come back to the commission, kind of before it goes to the task force, and if we need to.
Put your input in too, so I can have that before I go.
Right.
Okay.
Be perfect. Thank you.
Very good. Again, thanks to Commissioner Fowler for the hard work he's done on that. Any other discussion? Very good.
All right, the next item on your agenda is discussion of the Wilson property. We discussed that earlier this evening, and the direction was to make quick contact with the property owner and to determine, is the property really for sale, and what exactly is the sales price, and report back to you all, and we will make a determination as to whether that's worthy of pursuing any further or not. And that was kind of a summary of what we talked about in the review meeting today. And I will see if I can get a hold of Mr. Wilson sometime tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Next.
Okay. Discussion of the Buffalo Valley Golf Course. As you all are aware, we did receive one response to our request for proposals in the total amount of $400,000 from the town of Unicoi. Certainly want to recognize them and thank them for their interest in the property. Having said that, I think that in order to carry out our fiduciary responsibilities, I would recommend that we neither accept nor decline the offer at this time, but to allow the staff a little more time, another week or two, to explore some other options and to try to get a better understanding of the value of the property before the commission makes a final determination as to whether or not the offer from Unicoi is acceptable. But we do appreciate the fact that they showed the interest and submitted a proposal on the property.
I'd concur with that.
Yeah, I think we just need to make clear to taxpayers in Johnson City that we recognize we have an asset at Buffalo Valley. And while we look to the neighbors in Unicoi and want to make sure that we're being a willing partner in whatever they wish to pursue with it, we can't just give away an asset. And so I think where we're at right now is we just need to be absolutely certain of at least broadly what the property is worth before we do anything to dissolve our interests in it.
Yes, sir.
Full agreement.
Any other discussion on that item? Next item on your agenda is the manager's report. As you all know, I've been away from the office for a couple of weeks and getting settled back in this week. I really don't have a lot to report other than I'm trying to get up to speed and see what has changed and get caught up on things. Things change quite a lot in 2 weeks around here.
We're glad you're back.
Well, thank you. It's good to be back and feeling better and starting to get my energy back.
We thank Mr. Stahl as well. He's done a
Yes.
great job, and he's kept us apprised of most everything going on.
Thank you, Charlie.
Very
And that brings us to item number 9 on your agenda, which is adjournment, unless you have other things you would like to talk
Any
about.
comments from the commission?
There was an email sent today that is from Meg Stone.
Yep.
That said that they are opening an LLC, and there's $650,000 that is earmarked for them for this LLC, and they're going back to the partners that are potential investors and going to transfer that money when they get the LLC to a Merrill Lynch account. So they are making some progress on that. So that is good news for now for the possible sports science complex.
Very good. Anyone else? Well, call this meeting adjourned. Have a good night.